Welcome to Rsvp Performance Measures in Disaster Services, Economic Opportunity, Environmental Stewardship, Veterans and Military Families, and Capacity Building. In this presentation, we'll be reviewing the following focus areas: Disaster Services, Economic Opportunity, Environmental Stewardship, and Veterans and Military Families. We'll also discuss capacity building as it relates to Rsvp. These brief exercises will review how to determine if a work plan can fit within the designated focus area or capacity building. As this is a pre-recorded presentation, please feel free to fast forward to review only those focus areas relevant to your program. Let's begin. Welcome to Rsvp Focus Area Disaster Services. This brief exercise will review how to determine if a work plan can fit within the Disaster Services focus area. The Disaster Services Focus Area states that grants will help individuals and communities prepare, respond, recover, and mitigate disasters and increase community resiliency. Grant activities will increase the preparedness of individuals, increase individuals' readiness to respond, help individuals recover from disasters, and help individuals mitigate disasters. An Rsvp project would like to include a work plan within the focus area of disaster services. The project has 30 volunteers with Red Cross that perform preparedness activities. Using the Rsvp performance measure instructions, let's review a work plan and determine whether this work plan can be used under disaster services. The disaster services focus area has 5 output measures. The measure this Rsvp project would like to use is Measure D1, the number of individuals that receive CNCS-supported services in disaster preparedness. First, let's review the work plan that the program would like to adapt to fit this national performance measure. Rsvp volunteers provide training on disaster preparedness to community groups, distribute disaster kits, and recruit volunteers to be trained to serve in case of a disaster. The output is that 1,500 community residents will receive information on disaster preparedness strategies and volunteer opportunities. The current work plan's outcome is 60% of surveyed participating community residents report implementing disaster preparedness strategies. The next step is to use the Rsvp performance measure instructions to decide whether this work plan can fit the identified disaster services measure. First, does the Rsvp volunteer activity qualify as CNCS-supported services? According to the Rsvp performance measure instructions, CNCS-supported services could be a variety of different kinds of supports to help the individuals have a higher quality of life, but cannot only be referrals to federal services without supplementary assistance. The assistance may be delivered by phone, email, or in person. It may be delivered individually or as a group. Second, do the Rsvp volunteer activities qualify as disaster preparedness? According to the Rsvp performance measure instructions, preparedness is defined as actions that involve a combination of planning, resources, training, exercising, and organizing to build, sustain, and improve operational capabilities. Preparedness is the process of identifying the personnel, training, and equipment needed for a wide range of potential incidents, and developing jurisdiction-specific plans for delivering capabilities when needed for an incident. The measure D1 is number of individuals that received CNCS-supported services in disaster preparedness. The work plan's output is 1,500 community residents receive information on disaster preparedness strategies. After reviewing the definitions, does this work plan align with number of individuals that received CNCS-supported services in disaster preparedness? The activities meet the definition of CNCS-supported services, which may be delivered by phone, email, or in person, and may also be delivered individually or as a group. The volunteers are making in-person presentations to groups. Does it meet the definition of preparedness? Actions that involve a combination of planning, resources, training, exercising, and organizing to build, sustain, and improve operational capabilities. RSVP volunteers provide training on disaster preparedness to community groups, distribute disaster preparedness kits, and recruit volunteers to be trained to serve in the case of a disaster. This qualifies as identifying personnel, training, and distributing equipment. Even though preparedness could involve a combination of activities, a combination is not required. That is, any one of the activities listed would qualify as disaster preparedness. This work plan aligns with the Disaster Services Measure D1. The performance measure instructions are located in the RSVP Competition NOFO Appendix B. You are also welcome and encouraged to visit the Focus Area Forum to submit questions. Thank you for your participation. The next focus area we will review is Economic Opportunity. Welcome to RSVP Focus Area Economic Opportunity. This brief exercise will review how to determine if a work plan can fit within the Economic Opportunity Focus Area. The Economic Opportunity Focus Area states that grants will provide support and/or facilitate access to services and resources that contribute to the improved economic well-being and security of economically disadvantaged people. Grant activities will help economically disadvantaged people to have improved access to services and benefits aimed at contributing to their enhanced financial literacy, transition into or remain in safe, healthy, affordable housing, and have improved employability leading to increased success in becoming employed. An RSVP project would like to identify economic opportunity as their primary focus area. Using the RSVP performance measure instructions, let's review 2 work plans and identify if they're a fit. There are 3 output measures for RSVP programs under the Economic Opportunity Focus Area. The measure this project would like to use is the Housing Measure 05. The number of economically disadvantaged individuals, including homeless individuals, receiving housing services. First, we'll review the work plan that the program would like to adapt to fit this measure. This work plan is focused on weatherization assistance. The current output is 80 low-income, disabled, or elderly households will receive help with weatherization tasks in their home. The outcome for this work plan is 90% of clients will report reduced energy bills. The next step will be to use the performance measure instructions to decide whether this work plan can fit the identified economic opportunity measure. To fit this measure, the clients receiving weatherization services need to qualify as economically disadvantaged. In order to do so, they must be receiving or meet the income eligibility requirements to receive TANF, food stamps, SNAP, Medicaid, Rsvp, Section 8 housing assistance, or have a poor credit score, or are at least 60 days behind on one or more personal family accounts. The next applicable definition is housing services, which is defined as helps qualifying individuals find appropriate housing, find the resources to support use of appropriate housing, and assists individuals in accessing the appropriate housing. May or may not result in an actual placement. May also include hands-on housing development and repair activities. Housing development adds to the housing stock by building a new unit or substantially rehabilitating a unit that was either uninhabitable or soon would have become so. Involves replacing major systems such as the roof, the plumbing, the wiring, the foundation, or elevating the unit as required by a floodplain standard. Housing repair is a more modest level of physical work on the unit, such as weatherizing, painting, replacing appliances, and removing safety hazards. Service requires an engagement with the individual in person, by phone, or through a web interface. Pamphlets, brochures, and web-based information that does not involve a human interaction is not sufficient. What changes does the program need to make in order to work within Economic Opportunity Output 05? The program will need to work to determine the population being served. If most clients would qualify as economically disadvantaged individuals, the project could focus Rsvp volunteer efforts on helping individuals that meet this test. However, if volunteers are serving populations that do not qualify as economically disadvantaged individuals, then the program cannot count those volunteers under this measure. If all individuals being served are seniors, this work plan may qualify as an independent living work plan under Healthy Futures. The second question is, does weatherization qualify as housing services? The definition of housing services includes the statement, may also include hands-on development and repair activities. Housing repair is a more modest level of physical work on the unit, such as weatherizing, painting, replacing appliances, and removing safety hazards. This program could count this station under the priority measure of increasing economic opportunity. The new output for this work plan would read, 80 economically disadvantaged individuals will receive housing services. The organization may also want to consider if they could use this work plan as an outcome-based work plan. The outcome associated with the output we just explored is Economic Opportunity Outcome 011. The number of economically disadvantaged individuals, including homeless individuals, transitioned into safe, healthy, affordable housing. Currently, the project tracks the percent of clients reporting reduced energy bills. This work plan could not be used as an outcome work plan because the project is not transitioning people into housing. Since economic opportunity is being explored as an option for this project's primary focus area, there is another station that they would like to include. They've identified a complementary measure that they'd like to use. Output Measure 01. The number of economically disadvantaged individuals that receive financial literacy services. There is no outcome for this performance measure. This work plan is focused on VITA tax assistance. The current output is 375 low-income families will receive VITA tax assistance from Rsvp volunteers. The current outcome for this work plan is 90% of clients increase their knowledge of tax credits, impact of tax laws, and/or increase confidence to file on their own. The next step is to use the performance measure instructions to decide if this work plan can fit the identified economic opportunity measure. Like the first work plan, in order to fit this measure, clients receiving tax preparation assistance must qualify as economically disadvantaged. Once again, the client must be receiving or meet the income eligibility requirements to receive TANF, food stamps, SNAP, Medicaid, S-CHIP, Section 8 housing assistance, or have a poor credit score, or are at least 60 days behind on one or more personal family accounts. The definition of individuals states, may be a single individual or may represent a family. May be of any age considered an adult in the state where services are provided. Finally, the definition of financial literacy services includes financial literacy education with regard to credit management, financial institutions including banks and credit unions, and utilization of savings plans, 2009 Serve America Act. What changes does the program need to make to meet the definition requirements? The current work plan states they are serving low-income individuals. The program can change this language to economically disadvantaged individuals. If the program chooses to do so, they should be able to demonstrate the population being served does qualify per the definition. Please note that the definition of individuals may include a family. Now, we will explore if this work plan aligns with the definition of financial literacy. Financial literacy services include financial literacy education with regard to credit management, financial institutions including banks and credit unions, and utilization of savings plans. Please note that the term includes at the beginning of the definition indicates that the financial literacy services are not limited to those specific examples. The project aims to increase the client's financial literacy regarding tax preparation. Specifically, it works to increase their knowledge of tax credits, tax law, and increase their comfort level in filing tax returns on their own. The project can adapt this work plan to fit the complementary measure under economic opportunity. Based on our analysis and the recommended changes, this project could use this work plan under the economic opportunity complementary measures. The new output for this work plan would read, 375 economically disadvantaged individuals receive financial literacy services. There is no outcome associated with this measure. The performance measure instructions are located in the Rsvp Competition NOFO Appendix B. You are also welcome and encouraged to visit the Focus Area Forum to submit questions. Thank you for your participation. The next focus area we will review is Environmental Stewardship. Welcome to the Rsvp Focus Area Environmental Stewardship. This brief exercise will review how to determine if a work plan can fit within the Environmental Stewardship focus area. The Environmental Stewardship focus area states that grants will provide direct services that contribute to increased energy and water efficiency, renewable energy use, or improving at-risk ecosystems and support increased citizen behavioral change leading to increased efficiency, renewable energy use, and ecosystem improvements, particularly for economically disadvantaged households and economically disadvantaged communities. An Rsvp project would like to include a work plan with the environment focus area. The project has 25 volunteers working on a river cleanup. The Rsvp project has identified measure EN5 as being a potential measure for this activity. EN5 is the number of miles of trails or waterways owned, maintained by national, state, county, city, or tribal governments that are improved and/or created. The current output for this work plan is that 6 tons of debris and metal and 300 tires are removed from approximately 10 miles of river. The anticipated outcome is that 80% of surveyed White River stakeholders report improved condition of the river. For this particular activity, 2 definitions are key to determining if the activity aligns with the identified measure. First, waterways, which includes rivers, lakes, and other bodies of water used for swimming, boating, fishing, or other forms of water-based recreation. The second term of consequence is improved, which means restored to reduce human impact, removed invasive species, established native plants, built riparian buffers, cleared of natural debris, such as fallen trees, limbs, and unnatural debris, such as hazardous fuel and waste. Improvements must go beyond basic trash removal. After reviewing the definitions, does this work plan align with measure EN5, number of miles of trails or waterways owned, maintained by national, state, county, city, or tribal governments that are improved and/or created? The river meets the definition of waterway. However, does the output support the definition of improved? The definition specifically states that improvements must go beyond basic trash removal. The current output is that debris and tires will be removed from the river. The removal of debris, metal, and tires fits the description of unnatural debris, such as hazardous fuel and waste. Removing metal, debris, and tires goes beyond basic trash removal, as required by the definition of improved. Basic trash removal is referring to an activity such as picking up litter. The activity currently being performed through this river cleanup does align with environmental stewardship. The project is already using the required unit of measure for this output, the number of miles of waterways. The program could include this station as an environmental stewardship work plan. The performance measure instructions are located in the Rsvp Competition NOFO, Appendix B7. You are also welcome and encouraged to visit the Focus Area Forum to submit questions. Thank you for your participation. The next focus area we'll review is Veterans and Military Families. Welcome to Rsvp Focus Area, Veterans and Military Families. This brief exercise will review how to determine if a work plan can fit within the Veterans and Military Families focus area. Through the Veterans and Military Families focus area, grants will positively impact the quality of life of veterans and improve military family strength. Grant activities will increase the number of veterans and military service members and their families served by CNCS-supported programs, and the number of veterans and military family members engaged in service provision through CNCS-supported programs. Please keep in mind that regardless of whether or not you have a Veterans and Military Families work plan, Rsvp projects will report the number of veterans and the number of military service members' families served. For that reason, we encourage you to use measures in other focus areas when possible, and track the number of veterans and military family members that you serve. Doing so will maximize the reportable impact of your programming. An Rsvp project would like to include a work plan in the Veterans and Military Families focus area. Using the Rsvp performance measure instructions, let's review a work plan and determine if it's a fit. The Veterans and Military Families focus area has 5 output measures. Today, we'll review 2 activities that may address Measure V1, number of veterans that received CNCS-supported assistance. This work plan is focused on providing veterans with workshops to strengthen their ability to secure employment. The current output is 400 veterans receive training and assistance in obtaining employment. The outcome for this work plan is veterans served report less anxiety and more knowledge of a successful job search. The next step will be to use the instructions to decide whether this work plan can fit the identified veterans measure. The work plan specifically states that they are serving veterans. According to the instructions, a veteran is a person who served in the active military, naval, or air service and who was discharged or released therefrom under conditions other than dishonorable. Under this output, CNCS-supported assistance could be a variety of different supports to help the veterans have a higher quality of life, but cannot simply be referrals to federal services without supplementary assistance. The assistance may be delivered by phone, email, or in person. It may be delivered individually or as a group. The key is that the assistance must help the veterans have a higher quality of life. In addition, the activity cannot simply be referring individuals to other services. The employment workshops are for veterans. The work plan aligns with the first applicable definition. Second, the employment workshops fit the definition of CNCS-supported assistance, because helping veterans obtain the skills to find employment fits the description of supports to help the veterans have a higher quality. The activity does align with the CNCS focus area of veterans and military families. While the activity aligns with veterans and military families, the project has decided they would like to use this performance measure as an outcome measure. The veterans focus area has no outcome pairings. In addition, the program knows they will have other opportunities to report on serving veterans. What focus area would enable the program to report on outcomes for this activity? Education, healthy futures, economic opportunity, or capacity building? If you guessed economic opportunity, you were right. The project would maximize the reportable impact of this activity if they use Measure O2. The number of economically disadvantaged individuals receiving job training and other skill development services. To use the outcome measure for economic opportunity, the project changes the output and the outcome. The original output was 400 veterans receive training and assistance to obtain employment. The new economic opportunity output would read, 400 economically disadvantaged individuals receive job training and other skill development services. The original outcome was, veterans served report less anxiety and more knowledge of a successful job search. This is not an outcome under the new measures. The project changes the outcome to align with Economic Opportunity Outcome 010. The new Economic Opportunity Outcome is 75 veterans are placed in jobs. The program chose the Economic Opportunity measure for this work plan. Thus, the veterans they serve must also meet the definition of economically disadvantaged. Please see presentation on economic opportunity. How should the program go about tracking outcomes? In addition to definitions of key terms, the performance measure instructions include information on how to calculate, measure, and collect data. For this particular outcome, the project must use the count of individuals receiving services in O2 who were hired into a new job. Count each individual only once, even if the individual receives placement in more than one job. A suggested method is to get a copy of an acceptance letter from the employer or copy of the first pay stub. Next, we'll review another work plan that the Rsvp project would like to use in the Veterans and Military Families focus area. In addition to providing job training and assistance to vets, the Rsvp program also refers veterans to services that are available to them. The current output is 1,500 unserved veterans are provided basic intake information, benefits counseling, housing services information, and referral to County Veterans Service Officers Organizations, CVSO, as needed. The outcome for this work plan is 100 veterans will receive U.S. government benefits for their pension or disability payments. Next, let's look at the instructions to decide whether this activity aligns with the identified veterans measure. According to the performance measure instructions, CNCS-supported assistance could be a variety of different supports to help the veterans have a higher quality of life, but cannot simply be referrals to federal services without supplementary assistance. As you might remember, the outcome is focused solely on providing referrals to federal services. However, the output includes referrals to housing, counseling, and other non-federal assistance. As noted, the output seems to indicate that the Rsvp program is providing assistance beyond referrals to federal sources. If the program is providing services in addition to referrals to federal benefits, this performance measure could align with the veterans' focus area. The project would need to be clear about the other services it's providing. Finally, the volunteers providing housing services could have potential to be counted in economic opportunity instead. Since the project will have other opportunities to report the number of veterans served, doing so would capture the activity's greatest level of impact. Please view the Economic Opportunity session to learn more about the Economic Opportunity focus area. The performance measure instructions are located in the Rsvp Competition NOFO Appendix B. You are also welcome and encouraged to visit the Focus Area Forum to submit questions. Thank you for your participation. We'll now review capacity building as it relates to Rsvp. Welcome to CNCS Performance Measures Capacity Building for Rsvp. This brief exercise will review how to determine if a work plan can fit within capacity building. Through the 2011 to 2015 Strategic Plan, CNCS seeks to strengthen its collective capacity and that of the National Service Network to measure performance and evaluate program outcomes and impact. Capacity building activities must be intended to support or enhance the program delivery model, respond to the organization's goal of increasing, expanding, or enhancing services in order to address the most pressing needs identified in the community, and enable the organization to provide a sustained level of more or better direct services after the national service participant's term of service has ended. Please note, capacity building cannot be used as your primary focus area. Capacity building. A set of activities that expand the scale, reach, efficiency, and effectiveness of programs and organizations. Activities may also leverage resources for programs and/or organizations. For example, capacity building activities may expand services, enhance delivery of services, or generate additional resources. These activities achieve lasting positive outcomes for the beneficiary populations served by CNCS-supported organizations. Before we take a closer look at our program example, let's review the agency-wide capacity building performance measures. First, we'll look at activities related to leveraging volunteers. Measure G3-3.1 is the number of community volunteers recruited by CNCS-supported organizations or national service participants. Measure G3-3.2 is the number of community volunteers managed by CNCS-supported organizations or national service participants. These measures have an associated outcome of number of organizations implementing 3 or more effective volunteer management practices as a result of capacity building services provided by CNCS-supported organizations or national service participants. Next, we'll look at the capacity building measures for leveraging resources. Capacity building measures G3-3.16 and G3-3.17 are outputs that measure the amount of in-kind and cash resources that are leveraged by CNCS-supported organizations or national service participants. There are no outcome measures that are associated with these outputs. Note: Measure G3-3.17 may also be used to measure the Rsvp volunteers' contributions to blood drives. To use the measure for that purpose, substitute the number of pints of blood for the dollar value of in-kind resources. An Rsvp project considers the following work plan to be capacity building. Using the Rsvp performance measure instructions, let's review the work plan and determine if it will align. This work plan is focused on Rsvp volunteers providing administrative and operational support. The current output is 8 nonprofits will receive Rsvp volunteers to increase their internal capacity, including data entry, office support, research, and conducting tours. The outcome is nonprofits will report enhanced community services because of the assistance provided by Rsvp volunteers. The next step is to review the performance measure instructions to decide whether this work plan can fit the identified measure. Fundraising is not mentioned, so we know it does not fit the fundraising capacity building measures. What about the community volunteers measures? This work plan does not increase the number of volunteers or involve Rsvp members managing volunteers. This activity does not fit capacity building. To further understand why, let's explore a few related definitions. In the performance measure instructions, community volunteer refers to citizens or residents in the community who are recruited and/or managed by the CNCS-supported organization or assigned national service participants to offer time, knowledge, skills, and expertise for free to support the CNCS-supported program or organization. Community volunteers differ from national service participants in that they are under no formal obligation to provide a specified amount of assistance, for example, as measured by service hours, and said volunteers are not enrolled in a national service program, also referred to as leveraged volunteers. Rsvp volunteers cannot be double counted as community volunteers. The activities outlined in this example were data entry, office support, and general operational activities. While the work plan tries to associate these services with increased capacity for services, it does not meet the test under the new performance measures. Capacity building must support, enhance the program delivery model. Supporting, enhancing the program delivery model specifies that the services provided by the CNCS-supported organization or the national service participant engaged in the capacity building activity must be for the intended purpose of supporting or enhancing the CNCS-supported program delivery model. Said capacity building activities cannot be solely intended to support the administration or operations of the organization. Based upon the aforementioned definitions of capacity building, what types of activities would fit within capacity building? RSVP volunteers assigned to recruit additional non-RSVP mentors for local mentoring agencies that are facing a shortage. RSVP volunteers placed at organizations to assist in the development and implementation of improved volunteer management systems. RSVP volunteers assisting in fundraising activities. Assist with blood drives, and the program can count pints of blood as in kind. The performance measure instructions are located in the RSVP Competition NOFO Appendix B. You are also welcomed and encouraged to visit the Focus Area Forum to submit questions. Thank you for your participation. Please enjoy the rest of the conference.